Mr. Beast blew up at 20 when he started donating to Twitch streamers. Sneeko was 17 when he posted his first viral video, and Steezy Kane jumped off the Santa Monica Pier at 19. The list of creators, streamers, and brands who blew up young goes on and on. But is this the reality for most creators? Is this even possible for creators outside of the spotlight to make it this young? Well, there's a huge problem that needs to be addressed. All creators and influencers online are affected by this, and it's exactly what stops most people from ever making YouTube their career. We're gonna go over this dangerous problem, the process, and the solution that creators can implement to eventually find similar success with their passions. Social media showcases the best of the best, and because we are forced to keep up with the latest content creators and brands online, we're left with a depressing yet unending pressure to succeed. We may not realize it, but stories like Mr. Beast and Sneeko are extremely rare, and without the internet, we would have never met someone with a similar story. But because this rarity is showcased so often, we believe it to be common and place an immense amount of pressure on ourselves. Each day we don't make it, or each video that flops, is another reminder that we're further from our goals than we think. We burn out, and for some reason, we continue in this depressing reality until someone pulls us out or we quit. The point is, this constant reminder from social media makes it much harder for regular people with no industry connects or $100,000 safety nets to keep going and work on their craft. But the good news is, it's actually easier than we think. So what's the solution? How can we overcome these distractions to stay focused on our craft? The first step is to realize that any amount of success online takes time. Just look at some of the most established brands of today. Colin and Samir worked in college sports before starting YouTube. Ryan Trahan started posting in 2015 and got no views. Even Mr. Beast started uploading to YouTube at the age of 11. Oftentimes, the creators that blow up young just don't last. Look at Moad, Leafy, Sunny Faz, and all the brands that rise and fall on TikTok constantly. These creators chase the quick hit only to realize that without a foundation, the fame just doesn't last. It's the brands that don't go viral until their late 20s or 30s that stand the test of time, simply because these young creators couldn't handle all the opportunities being thrown their way and fell off for the inconsistency.
If you had put me in all the rooms I'm in now at 21 because I'd made some hot beats and I'd gotten some big placements, I would have it up. I'm so glad it's me now going in these rooms for the first time with all the knowledge I have and all the ability I have. Certain people wouldn't have been ready for things at a young age where maybe they wanted things. It took me a long time to figure out how I needed to move, how much work I needed to put in, how I needed to carry myself, how long I needed to keep my head down.
What many brands forget is that genuine life experience is what lets you understand how to maintain a successful presence online. Life experience that a lot of these teenagers that go viral lack. They blow up and are forced to ignore the self-discovery process that most of us get to go through. They succeed, but at what cost? Many viral teenagers or brands have very little in terms of a personal foundation, and over time, they get swept up in all the noise. Most creators would be much better off spending another year or two honing their craft, making money some other way than their image, and coming back with a sober mind. But that's just not what a lot of creators want to hear. We want to obsess over our work until somehow we make it happen. But in this process, we forget that the information we need is outward. Life experience, books, content, or mentors will push us forward the most. But if we're stuck inside and ignoring life experiences, we won't be able to understand the lessons along the way. Everyone just wants to see amazing results today, when it takes years of developing a variety of skills and experiences to truly understand what you want and what your vision is for your brand. If you can force yourself to be content with where you are now, and you're able to look back to see how far you've already come, you'll see a lot more results down the road. You can build the tallest building in the world with a foundation, but if your foundation is weak, your amazing building will fall as quickly as you put it up. If I'm getting impatient or only seeing the negatives of my work, I'll often go back to my art or videos from a year or 2 or 3 years ago. It can really help you understand the progress that you've made so far, how good your art really is, and it will even force us to understand that maybe we're just too hard on ourselves. We realize we've come an incredibly long way, and maybe if we keep going, we can eventually make it. And who knows, maybe it won't take as long as you thought. Just look at some of Mr. Beast's first videos that gained traction.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Worst Intros on YouTube. If you could do me a favor and like the video, I'd appreciate it.
The quality is terrible compared to what he's known for today, but this is just the process we all have to be more familiar with as creators. If you take the time to look at your favorite creators like this, you'll see something very similar. We think there'll be one day where a big realization changes everything, which might happen, but most often it takes years of incremental progress to see any sort of result, which is actually an amazing part part of the process. We get to discover ourselves and where we want to take our brands. If we blew up now, we would realize we're just not ready, and we might not even want the opportunity to begin with. This practice will help you realize that it just takes time. And even your favorite creators or brands had to overcome the same exact struggles you're going through right now. This idea of virality is exactly what's stopping us from getting what we want. All of us can have our own little spot online, but because we see the numbers and the lifestyle, we end up sacrificing what we could have for a grand fantasy of fame. Sometimes the solution is to pull back and create for a niche. Because we end up creating for the world stage, we don't realize how good our work really has to be. But we also don't realize how good our work already is. Sometimes all we need is to repackage our great work for a new audience, and we'll get exactly what we want. The only thing we have to sacrifice is this idea of escaping our problems through a massive amount of success. If we can do this, we'll win. And this concept is exactly what's killing our brand's depth and connection to our audiences. We go viral only to lose the trust we have to our fan base. We sacrifice our ideas and creativity for the sake of views, when oftentimes views and subscribers don't even matter. If we can have a connection with our audience, we can see a lot of progress as well. The tricky part is figuring out your niche and what works in that space. Because I don't think the goal is to go viral. The goal is to boil a little pot of water, get to the top of a niche, and blow up out of that community. That is, if you still want to go that route.
We're going to show up. We're going to become familiar. Over 6 months, we'll be able to boil this club. I can do that. Boil in a lake, that's hard. Boil in this club, that's easy. That's what the Migos did.
A lot of creators have no idea why they're stuck. They make the content they love, they're authentically themselves, they have good ideas, but for some reason, the views just aren't there. This happens for 2 other reasons that I'll describe in this section. This information is what I've spent the last year of my life figuring out, and without these 2 foundational ideas, we'll end up stuck in the journey towards what we want most. The first reason is because so many creators are trying to succeed so young, they end up creating content as a way to discover who they are. A lot of creators haven't developed their style or personal foundation, and because of this, they end up simply creating content for themselves. Their content is a documentary following their own interests and passions. But the big reason this is a problem is that in order to create for an audience, we have to have a seat outside of ourselves, another perspective to see how the audience would react to our ideas. Without this perspective, we get stuck in the same cycle of creating by ourselves, and we repeat the same mistakes with different ideas, and it just feels like nothing is working. This period of self-discovery is actually amazing, but there's a twist. This is when we figure out our style, what things we're naturally good at, and what we want to do with our brands. The only downfall is when we don't understand this process and think we're going to go viral off of this stage of experimenting. The ones that do are very rare, and oftentimes don't make it long enough to tell their stories, simply because in this stage, they accidentally blew up with a gimmick and fell off just as fast. Look at Leafy, Scarce, and Grade A Under It. These YouTubers were probably the biggest names of 2016, and none of them are relevant today. These creators had very little foundation and lost their longevity because of their quick rise. The second problem is again with authenticity. If we haven't developed our own style, we end up copying other people and living out their lives. We adopt their ideas and personas to feel like we're making progress. The mask becomes our face, and eventually we realize we haven't made any progress at all. These creators lose the depth and connection they had with their audience, and their next logical step is unfortunately to quit. As people, we're often afraid of losing our individuality. We create arbitrary rules and personas to make our ideas unique, but that is only holding us back. If we want to see progress, we must think about the audience, copy what works, and our own natural spin will work its way into the art. If you're ready, you'll know. But if you're not, keep developing your style. There's no rules, so just have fun with it.